Hello and welcome to the ArchaeoTech podcast. I'm Russell Allen Willems, and today I'm joined with my guest Chris Webster, CRM archaeologist and founder of the Archeo Podcast Network, who's broadcasting live from SA 2015 in San Francisco, California. Hi, Chris.
Hey,
how are you doing?
How's it going? Doing well. Doing well.
Good.
It's day 3 technically. Well, I think day 4 technically. Saturday, and it's brain is fried.
Excellent. Looks like we're getting some video from the exhibition hall here.
Yep. We're right in the exhibit hall here. Yep.
Cool.
So I'm walking up. We had on the podcast Chris Cameron of Field Technologies Incorporated, and there he is giving a little demo of his ArchaeoGen software.
Neat.
Yeah, and Chris is sporting some brand new Archaeology Podcast Network postcards right there.
Oh, very nice. Look at that there.
Yeah, here, we'll show this for the crowd. There we go.
Look at that. That looks pretty swank, man.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, and I'll put a plug in too for the next time someone comes to a conference with the Archaeology Podcast Network. We put up $200 at the bar last night, and it didn't go very far in San Francisco. The receipt had only 26 items on it.
Yeah.
But, it's worth it.
Hey, free beer's free beer. I saw a lot of gratitude on Twitter last night.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as tech goes, I interviewed these guys. They're from Daiichi Gosai. We'll have a little short blurb on there. Dude, they are the forestry supply of Japan. So they've got an amazing little catalog with some really cool stuff in it. They've got some pictures of this. Those devices that are full of metal that you put your face in and it makes a negative impression of your face? These little metal spikes.
The pin tools?
Yeah. So they've got, a tool like that that's just a single, just like a single plane like this, and it's for pottery and bone and stuff because it's made of bamboo.
Nice.
So,
I've seen that used for doing profiles and kind of side drawings of points and of ceramics.
Yep. They
so
come
is that
in
a
all
digital
different
tool?
sizes. No. It's totally a holding your hand tool. It's made to take the outline of something and then set it on the paper, and so you can trace it accurately.
That's pretty neat. That sounds really handy.
Yeah. And we're walking up right now to the CODA booth, Center for Digital Archaeology. However, they're all up in the session honoring Ruth Tringham right now, so it's completely abandoned at this point.
I saw that. That looked like a pretty fun session.
Yeah, it was entertaining. It's going till noon, so I don't know if they're all going to stay in there until then or not. But CODA, of interest to some of our listeners, have, in partnership with DigTech a little bit, have developed Codify CRM, and it's going to take the world by storm here shortly. It's amazing. So
I was excited about that. You tell Michael to get back in contact with me, because we kind of fell out of touch about that.
Yeah, he's been a little crazy the last couple of weeks. It's been it's been really ramping up.
That guy is always super busy. He's always got about a dozen projects going on.
Yeah, well, he's in town this coming week, Monday, and then the week after that, he's off to Montreal for a conference.
Neat.
So
yeah. That's actually one of the things about this year, 2015 for the SAs, is I feel like it's kind of a landmark one in digital archaeology, simply because there are so many digital archaeologists in the Bay Area. Has that been kind of your impression? What have the digital sessions been like this year?
They've been super lively. There's been just a lot of really different things happening, which is kind of something I wanted to comment on, because it still seems like, we have these digital sessions, and when it's kind of a general session, it still seems like everybody's working in a vacuum. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all creating very individualized things, and they're like, look what we've done. This is amazing. But sometimes, some people may know, Russell and I got into app development a little bit on something, and then Russell split off, and then I moved forward with an application that ended up not going forward. But that was the wrong idea, I think, because when I saw what CODA was doing with their Codify software and how that could be applicable to CRM, it's like, why reinvent the wheel? You know what I mean? Let's just hook up with them and do it. And I think that's what a lot of people are doing, is they don't seem to be really researching what's out there and seeing if that will work first. They just want to make something unique that'll work for their project, and then probably nothing else.
Well, and that's a comment that I heard repeated a lot, both at this year's SAAs and then at the recent Mobile Art Conference, was that a lot of, especially in academia, bespoke databases, especially on
Yes.
FileMaker. And I can see that being very powerful. That's something I built for some clients before, but it's kind of a single-use database. So if you move to a different site or a different project, it's not as extensible, at least the way it's built. Whereas, especially in CRM, as you're well aware, Chris, our clients
Mm-hmm.
want something that is flexible project to project.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's a little bit more standardized in CRM, at least in terms of the forms that you need to output to. And I've seen things like codify, like FAMES, like some of the other things like ArchaeoGen that have been proposed that I know I was talking with Colleen Morgan on Twitter last night that we were saying, hey, it seems like a lot of these database folks aren't necessarily talking to each other and aren't necessarily as concerned about having generalized databases, at least at some level, that can talk to each other or integrate data sets.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the next big thing is people figuring out, and people are already working on this, how to group these data together at a high level so that you can search across them, so that you can aggregate data sets, so that CRM companies can record once in one way across multiple projects. And then you
Mm-hmm.
can always dig deeper and get more specific. We're getting back into splitter and lumper arguments, but I think when it comes to data, those kind of high-level ontologies are going to be increasingly important.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. And speaking of, this is the FAMES booth right here.
Yeah.
They've got the FAMES in a box set up right there in front of her. And
Let's take a quick look at that because
yeah.
that's pretty cool as far as mobile technology. And I
Right.
see Adela there, and I'm not sure, is that Penny Crook?
We've got Petra and Adela. Yes.
Hi, Petra.
I've got Russell Allen Willems online here. We're doing a live ArchaeoTech podcast on Google Hangouts.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Petra, would you like to tell us a little bit about FAMES and FAMES in a box?
So Russell wants to know if you'll tell him about a little bit about FAMES and FAMES in a box. And Russell, tell me how well you can hear because I think it's in my headphones. So if you want to tell him a little bit about this.
So what we are basically a mobile platform to
So put the mic a little bit closer to her face, Chris.
in a terrain.
Yeah.
Better.
And we work on Android devices, and we work fully offline. You don't need internet to collect the data at all. Well, that's yeah. Another cool thing, we are open source. So if you are IT person, if you are enthusiastic enough, you can take the code and do whatever. You can use it as you want.
Nice.
And yeah, but if we have created for demonstration, we have created some demo modules that if you go to Google Play, type in FAMES, you can download the app, connect to a demo server, and basically there are 12 demo modules that you can try out, see what they can do, if you like them. Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Hey, Petra.
That was the basic intro, I guess.
One quick
So I can hear
question
Russell.
for Petra.
ahead.
Is it true? I heard a rumor that FAMES is working on a low power version that works for you as solar panels, so you can actually have this in the backcountry.
Russell says he heard that FAMES is working on a low power version that will work with like solar panels, so you can work.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's currently one project is I think just one, but it's working. It's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a basically this is the FAMES in the box simple version that works. Yeah, that you can take with you. We've got bigger versions that you can plug into a car, or the smaller versions that work with the solar power. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Petra.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very
Any
much.
More questions?
No.
You're welcome to ask. This is so cool.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Russell, thanks you too.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Cool. I like
All
this. Let's
right.
just maybe continue touring around. I know maybe Arc Aerial might be there, or some other stuff I'm not even aware of.
You know, Archaeorial was here for about an hour during the workshop that we had with Coda on Tuesday, but they don't have a booth here. They left right after that. They went home.
Oh, well.
So I'm not
Okay.
really sure why they don't have a booth here. It would be kind of perfect for them. But
Yeah, flying around that drone of theirs is pretty sweet.
yeah, and we've got the usual, some of the usual suspects here. We've got the microscopes and there's all the DPR stuff and some resistivity guys.
Nice.
And well, let's go out this way. See if he's still in the booth. Oh, we've got some TDAR action here.
Nice. Let's go talk to them for a minute.
Yeah. Okay. 1 second. Hi. I'm Chris Webster. I'm with the Archaeology Podcast Network. I've got Russell Allen Willems on Google Hangout live audio podcast. Yeah, so he might want to ask you questions, which you can't hear, but I'll tell you.
Okay.
Yeah. So Russell, what do you want to ask? What do you want to ask Jody?
Jody. Hi, Jody. My name is Russell. I interned very briefly with TDAR a few years ago. What can you tell us about the digital archaeological record and why archaeologists should consider using it?
So Russell interned with TDAR a few years ago, and he wants to know what can you tell archaeologists about TDAR and how can they use it? In 2 sentences or less. No, I'm just kidding. And speak. You just speak into this.
And this is being recorded? Or is this...
It's live on Google Hangouts. You don't have to put those in. Just speak into here.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, hi Russell. Hi everyone else. I'm Jody Reese Flores. I'm a digital curator with TDAR. I'm also a Clear DLF fellow in data curation for the sciences and social sciences. If you haven't heard of TDAR before, it's an archaeological repository. We have lots of different data that we take in, including documents, data sets. One of the newer things that happened in 2013 was that we started taking GIS and scan data into the repository as well. So we have a lot of really great resources, both for research and also for people that are looking to archive and preserve their materials.
Awesome.
Fantastic, Jody. I heard that through one of the workshops.
Say again, Russell?
I was going to say, I heard through one of the workshops, Jody, that TDAR is really highlighting some of the collaborative features, which I know are being developed in the past. Is there anything new on that end that our listeners and viewers should be aware of?
So Russell said that he'd heard through one of the workshops that TDAR is getting more into some collaborative features, and he's wanting to know if there's been any developments on that, or what's going on with that.
Well, we are sort of collaborating on a lot of different grants right now, and working with larger and larger projects. For example, we just started working with the Corps of Engineers on uploading their materials to TDAR. But one tool that's sort of been redone, the user face has been redone recently, is our data integration tool. And it's really, really great if you want to use different data sets in the repository, but for example, they use different coding systems or very different descriptions. You can sort of use our internal tools to integrate all of that data so it makes sense, and also organize your own data sets as well.
Great. All right. Let me put Russell back in my ear.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Jody. That was very informative.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, let's move on. Yeah, I don't remember seeing TDAR at Austin, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're there because I think I ran into Frank McManaman. He was there for Ethics Bowl.
Okay.
He was one of our judges.
Here's
the Dyna Project in Open Context. Yes.
Yep, they're both here in one booth. So they're waiting for you.
If Kate or the other gentleman have time to talk, that might be neat.
Yeah, we've got Kelsey here and Carl.
Kelsey, right.
Yeah. They're talking to someone right now. Let me give them just a second here. We'll scan through the booth a little bit.
Okay. So just a brief bit of background for our listeners. Dyna is the digital index of North American archaeology, and it's a pilot project to integrate archaeological data from different state historic preservation officers together.
So I've got Russell Allen Willems here. I'm with the Archaeology Podcast Network. Okay. Yeah, and we're doing a live Google Hangout right now, just kind of touring around. So I wonder if you could just tell us, and our audio setup is not the best because it's the first time we've ever done it.
Okay.
But I want to know if you can, Russell, I'm going to take you out of my head a little bit. I wonder. Hey. I wonder if you could just tell us a little bit about what DINA is in conjunction with Open Context, and you can just speak into here. You don't have to put the headphones in.
Okay, yeah, so the Digital Index of North American Archaeology, or DINA for short, because that's a real mouthful, is a group of scholars across multiple institutions who are working with the various state SHPO offices to create a system that helps different SHPO archaeological site file databases interoperate so that you can look at archaeology on a more macro stage. This has been an ongoing and a very long process for us. Right now we've got 15 states online with 5 more that are about to go live. We've got a deal with Mississippi to get their data transferred and bring it into the system. So that's in about 2 years, that's been 21 states. And you can kind of see that right there on the map of the states that are live, and with Mississippi with the green dot, with its imminent transfer. Now, how we do this is we actually work this out by doing individual negotiations with states, with each state SHPO office, and then once we get their data, we bring it up and we assign every site to a 20 kilometer by 20 kilometer grid. That way, we don't have to give away any sensitive information like site location. Once they're assigned to a grid, we delete the site file location information, and we keep all that other metadata around it though. So we keep artifact typologies, we keep site type, we keep the culture history terms, and then we tie the culture history terms into our unified vocabulary. And then after you've gotten your unified vocabulary tied to individual state culture history ontologies, you're actually able to, that's basically how the system works. The really great thing about this is that it's open access, open source, it's online. We have it GitHub, we have it archived in Open Context, which is an open access data publishing platform for archaeologists. And we really encourage you to use open source software when you're exploring this. So if you want to export a GeoJSON and then play with it, we really encourage you to use QGIS with that. That's QGIS for those who haven't heard of it before. It's like Esri's ArcMap, but free and runs on everything.
My CRM firm uses it exclusively.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And it probably saves them a crap ton of money.
Yes, yeah, we do.
Anyway, yeah, that's kind of the basic spiel. By creating this system, we're able to create something that's a lot more. You're able to get a better macro look at the archaeological landscape of North America. Right now, we're concentrated in the Southeast and the Midwest, but we're slowly expanding. We really want to get up into New England, and we want to move west of the Mississippi one day. That's the big thing. And then into Canada.
Into the world. Right?
And the world, yes. We want to slowly conquer the world with, DINA. We might have to think of a name change then.
Yeah.
But for now, we really do want to be North American first, and then figure out maybe Americas, and then figure out where to go after that. But really, I mean, the great thing about it is that it's open access and open source. The folks over at Open Context have been a wonderful host and partner with this. We've been funded by the NSF. We had our kind of proof of concept funding from them, and that's been phenomenal. And now we're looking to move into the second stage, which is expanding past the Mississippi and getting more money.
So
always more money.
My question for you real quick, how do you access DINA?
How do you access?
I mean, if I want to use these data, what do I do?
Yeah. So, we're hosted at Open Context, so you can find us at opencontext.org, or you can just Google DINA, DINAA, and our page at Open Context will be the first thing on Google. Mm-hmm. If you want to look at our Zotero library, because everything we've done, we've maintained citations and we've kept everything ready to go so that you can look at it. You can Google Dina Zotero and look at our library. And if you want to access it, you can check us out at opencontext.org. We've got a ton of literature if you want to swing over here and take a look at the literature. All of this is downloadable. You can take a look at it. Hopefully, we can get a couple of the good views of our QR codes, so that if you really want to get a chance to download any of this stuff. And then our fourth one over here, if you really want to download data and play with it, this is the one to look at. This is the one that describes how to get our data off of the internet. We recently revised the process. It's a little more difficult, but it also gives you a lot more data. It gives you our way of getting the data is a lot more extensible now.
Awesome, that sounds good. Russell, 1 second.
Okay, and just a note for our listeners, we'll have the Dina URL and Zotero library up in our show notes for you later.
Right. Okay, well, we're pushing time for my session, so I think we're going to move on and see some other stuff.
All right, and, that's great. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you. All right. I want to go on here and see if they're back in the Coda booth so they can talk about Codify CRM.
Okay.
And see what's going on there.
Yeah, anybody else you see along the way that you think would be good for an interview, feel free.
Yeah. One thing I've noticed here too, I don't know what the deal is, but there are a lot of non-US based universities here at this time.
Neat.
Yeah, there's just a ton of them.
I know University of York has a pretty awesome digital heritage program.
Yeah,
so if William Richards is there, that would be awesome.
And the University of Aberdeen has some really good shortbread over there.
Hey, they were thinking.
Yeah, they were. All right, let's go down.
The AIA booth.
Yep, I talked to them yesterday. That was pretty cool. We're going to do, so I'll mention something about the AIA. I signed up the Archaeology Podcast Network as a collaborating organization, and for October, if not one episode, I'm thinking maybe all the episodes that we put out in October, or maybe at least one for each show, could be purely devoted to the International Day of Archaeology, and something
Fantastic.
We'd have to come up with for that. Yeah, they'll put it on their calendar, they'll link to us, and they'll do that. So since Coda's not here, I was helping him with some of the demos anyway.
Yeah, feel free. Maybe get somebody to hold your phone.
Yeah, well, there's literally nobody here. But anyway, let me see. What do we got?
Lookadoo would be good to talk about, as would just Codify in general.
Right. So let me talk about Lookadoo first.
Perfect.
So Lookadoo, that's how it's spelled, Lookadoo.net, right there. It's essentially a system they've devised. They call it instances of Lookadoo. It's a database. It's controlled by ideally indigenous communities, but really anybody who wants to set up an instance of Lookadoo. And basically what it is you've got a ton of information inside this database. And let's say, for example, we'll take a native example as something that we'll talk about here. Let's say men are able to see something, women are able to see another thing, elders are able to see another thing, children are able to see some things but not all things. Mm-hmm. You can set up those controls, and you can say
Clan might be able to see some things, whereas Raven Clan might be able to see a whole different set, sometimes overlapping.
Yeah, and getting finer into there with just individual people. For one reason or another, somebody may not be, it may not be right or proper for them to be aware or see something. Like the tribes they were working with in Australia for here, he's like, for example, you'll never see pictures of dead relatives on their walls. It's just not something that they do. But that might be in their archive, but they don't want to see it. So it's archived and it's stored, but you're not going to just see that when you log in because it's not part of your cultural protocol. So, and that's what they've got here, cultural protocols. You can, I don't know how well it's coming out on the screen, but you can, you can basically set up with incredibly fine-grained levels, like it says on the thing here, who has access to what, or what type of person has access to what. Not even just like Russell or Chris has access to this, but men between the ages of adult age or something like that have no children, have access to these data, but they can't see other things, stuff like that. So that's what Lookadoo is, and they set it up to work really with indigenous communities. But I've been talking to Michael, and there's no reason this can't work in CRM on certain institutions. Like, for example, big mines here in Nevada have a lot of land that they're leasing, and they may not want people to know everything about what's going on there. But you could set up an instance of Lookadoo for their property where we're releasing, hey, we've got these cool things, this kind of information, but the individual person, the Joe Schmo off the street, is not going to see the site locations, the site data, exactly where it is on the mine, exactly what the mine's even done to it, things like that. But they can interact and engage with the archaeology still, just like that. So
I love that. I think that's really important, is that all sorts of traditional communities, just communities in general, families. I know when it originally started out, I forget the woman's name, I think Rachel or Rebecca, that came up with the program, did develop it for indigenous communities. But I think there's wider application too. If anybody that wants to have some level of control over the heritage that they share and how widely it's shared, and restrict some of that. Say, hey, sometimes this isn't appropriate to share absolutely everything, as much as especially digital archaeologists might want that to be the case. I think we also realize traditional intellectual property, and just not everything needs to be shared as widely as just the web. Sometimes certain restrictions do make sense.
Yeah, exactly. So working along with that, hey, we've got DDIG celebrity Josh Wells right here.
Hey, Josh.
Russell on the live ArchaeoTech podcast Google Hangout.
Hi, Russell. Hi, everybody.
Yes,
Hi,
and here
Josh.
we can let's swap it.
Oh, look at there.
There it is.
Hey. How's it going, Russell?
Really
Not that
well.
Sorry, don't blast Chris's ears.
Yeah, you can't hear him, but
Yeah.
he can hear you. So
I wish I could be there with you guys, but this is the second best thing.
yeah, he says he wished he could be here, but this is the second best thing. And he followed along the Lightning Talks on Twitter last night, which were very energetic and amazing.
Yeah, I heard there was a
were
football
you,
tackle when Adrian went over time.
No, I wasn't. Should have.
Yeah, that would have been good.
Yeah.
We should maybe think about that for next year. That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I almost tweeted, "Why isn't anybody meerkatting this?" But I didn't. But so anyway, yeah.
So how many folks you have on the hangout?
Is anybody watching this yet, Russell? Did you put it out
We've got
there
a couple
on the
people tweeting it. I think more people are going to watch later. Right now we've only got one live viewer, so we'll say hi to them.
one live viewer right now? But we're gonna record. We're gonna obviously package it and put it on the website.
Cool.
So
Hi, one live viewer.
awesome. Well, I'm gonna go finish talking about this real quick.
Okay.
Thanks, Josh.
Doing a great job.
Thanks. So one of the other things that that CODA is doing here at Center for Digital Archaeology is they've been working on for a while now what they call codify, which is their database for basically recording anything. They've got examples down here that they've done where you've got different levels: areas, zones, sites, excavation activities, and civ. Obviously, these are non-North American things with their terminology, but it's applicable to anything. And what they've been doing with Codify is basically setting it up, for clients however they'd like to set up. But I saw this system and I said, this could work in a more general sense for CRM. So I gave them all my data, all the stuff I've been working on, and they developed, starting with the California DPR site forms, Codify CRM.
Nice.
And right now they're still in a little bit of a development phase, but they've got the basic architecture of the database worked out, and it's pretty genius too the way they've done it. They've kind of completely reinvented the database layout for this thing, and it's smooth. It runs really quickly on the tablets, and it's just awesome. So, and you don't need internet connectivity to use it. You don't need anything like that. Everything's running right on your iPad or Android device, and it's really awesome. There's been a really good response here to it. So,
yeah, in my personal opinion, because Codify works on iOS, Apple devices, and Fames works mostly on Android. Those are my right now top two picks for archaeologists really interested in multi-user paperless recording databases out in the field. I think those are the two go-to options at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And one other thing I'll just mention here before I think I've got to go play SAAs here a little more. Michael, that's him right there. He's a photographer, and he's really into photogrammetry and really doing some cool stuff.
Nice.
And I think he converted me to Lightroom on Tuesday because I didn't really know a whole lot about Lightroom, and it looks amazing. But
that's it for another episode of the ArchaeoTech podcast. Links to some of the items mentioned on the show are in the show notes for this podcast, which can be found at www.archaeologypodcastnetwork.com/ArchaeoTech. If you like the show and want to comment, please do. You can leave comments about this or any other episode on the website or on the iTunes page for this episode. You can also email us at chris@archaeologypodcastnetwork.com or use the contact form on the podcast webpage. If you'd like us to answer a question on a future episode, email us. Use the contact form on the website or tweet your questions with the hashtag ArchaeoTech or tag @ArchPodNet in your tweet. Please share the link to this show wherever you saw it. If you'd like to subscribe to this podcast, you can do so on iTunes or on Stitcher Radio. You can also type the name of the podcast into your favorite podcasting app and subscribe that way. Don't forget to go over to iTunes and leave a review of the show. It helps us get noticed so more people can find our podcast and benefit from the content. Also, send us show suggestions and interview suggestions. We want this to be a resource for field technicians everywhere, and we want to know what you want to know about.